So in this demo, I'm trying to show the SAP, the step-by-step module for the financial accounting module. So why we call financial accounting module? Because this is trying to simulate, I think about year 231, right? So the principles of financial accounting. So we have a small financial accounting module is like we try to simulate, we receive a invoice from the rental tenant, like the rental company, right? So assume like my company, I have a rental property, and then we receive the invoice from the rental company, and then but first we transfer fund. You have multiple bank accounts, so that's like we create a new bank account based upon the existing bank accounts. We already have a main bank account. We create another one, like second bank account. Then we create another reconciliation account that's like related to your account payables. Then we transfer fund from your main bank account to this payment bank account. Then we simulate receiving the invoice from the rental company and finally make payments. So if you relate this to the accounting journal entries, especially after you complete all of the steps, so you found out there are actually only 3 journal entries involved. Transfer the fund. I will let you know once we get onto the steps in details. The first journal entry is transfer fund from the primary bank account to the new created bank account. So it's an asset exchange. Then the second journal entry is simulating recognize the invoice expense. So debit the rental expense and credit accounts payable to this rental company. And then the third journal entry will be making payments for this accounts payable. So the journal entries are really straightforward, but we are learning here, not in really the accounting courses, is how you can see the real process in the ERP system, right? So rather than I write the journal entry on piece of paper, or I input my journal entry into my homework platform or using the Excels. This is how the real journal entry get into the real business system. And we also get some preparation like the accounts, which account I'm going to use. So let you know as accountants, we have the flexibility to add new master data into the accounting system, like new ledger accounts. So that's why in the beginning, we didn't start from the journal entries, but we started from understanding how the chart of the account is set up. And then we try to create a few new ledger accounts, and then we'll get into process the transactions. So it gives you a feeling or connection between the materials we learned from the book to the real ERP system, or using the SAP as an example or the tools. But as Nandra mentioned, SAP is only one of the available ERP softwares in the market. If you have Oracle or some other ERP system, or the mechanics or the logic works very similar, but they may use a different like interface or the different ways they organize the ERP system. But SAP, especially for large and medium companies, this is a popular one. And in the beginning, the interface may not look very friendly, but after you get used to it, and it makes sense. So you can see all of the connections. So I'm going to log in because the video, like the YouTube videos I made, I updated last fall. Each semester, I'm getting a different SAP system, like the client, the login, the web link, and also the client number, and also the student account. So for using the Spring, please use 302. So I think thank you, Nandra, brought this to me, that because in my video, you still see 365. That's a client number we used last fall. So client 302, and then the username and the password I send out. Or if you encounter any login problem, email me. Okay, I can check. But after you tried, so if you keep logging in and failed 3 times, so you probably will be logged out. But again, email me so we can set up. So I'm going to use a student account to log in. Oh, I haven't changed. So once you log in, make sure you already have the, the T code box, okay, from the configuration or the settings, okay, you call the T transaction box, because this really help us save time by inputting the transaction code rather than going through all of the click or using the arrows. And I'm kind of skipping the introduction part, how to check the chart of the accounts. I'm go directly to the transactions. So the first one is step 1, I think, create a new bank account. Yeah, step 1, so create a bank account. We already have a main bank account in the chart system, and you have the 6 digits for each ledger account. Then, so the transaction code is FS00, or if you want to follow the manual path, okay, you can use, I believe, under accounting, financial accounting, general ledger. So you can follow the manual path if you like. The manual path, the nice thing in the beginning is let you understand when you follow the manual path, you can understand better how the functions under the SAP is organized. And now if you know the transaction code, so where I most likely to find the correct path, right, to process the transactions. And this is creating a new ledger. It should be under your, you can see, accounting function, financial accounting, right, and the general ledgers. And I'm going to create a new master data. So going to the master record and the GL account. Individual processing means for this one, I want to create one new account. If you want to create a bunch of new accounts, like 10 new accounts, you can choose the collective processing. Okay, so differently. And you go to here and you can get the same result by using the manual path centrally. So I'm going to do here, okay, from just a double click. And it doesn't matter which new account, be careful. So first you input, so this is the new account you are trying to create. So this account number is not existing in the current system. Also be careful. So you need to give a new number not existing so not redundant with any of the current ledgers. So I'm going to call it, okay, this one use your own. So the middle 3, so use is like your user ID, right? So 3 digits. So 0 pound. Okay, the pound is your user number. So you may have 15 or 05. Okay, I have 30, but add a 0 before the 30. So 6 digits. So 10, 0, 30, and then 5. So don't worry, because this is a new ledger, so it's not really searching. They don't really found in the current ledger. It's a new account. And double check you put your company code, because each of us has a mini accounting system. So I have US 30, and don't mismatch I believe you couldn't use other students' account, or you only can use your own company code, or US, and be consistent. And then by creating a new account, we can start from scratch, or like you can look over if you already have this account, and you can edit a existing account. That's what the other functions for this FS00. But I'm going to create, because I already have a main account, right? So I'm copying and revise the structure from an existing account. And the existing bank account is 100, so that's your main bank account. And I believe you have a flexibility here. You can use your own, I think like 30, because you are copying. Be careful, okay? Like, so if you are using your own company code, you are copying your other bank account structure to this one we are creating as new. That will work. And sometimes if you want to use your parent company, so like a parent company, 00, that also work. But this one is copying the bank account from your parent company to your own system. Or I believe either the both will work, but the copying the channel, the where it's come from is different. Also be careful. So I think let's check back here. So I think we can continue. Yes. So I'm copying my main bank account structure to this new one, but I need to make a like slightly adjustment. Okay, so I can tell the difference. So what I'm just doing here is putting, I believe, on the short text. And getting here with your short text, right? Long text or short text. Yeah, so bank 0, they also put. Especially if you know, like, just make sure it's different. So something different from your main bank account, and also different from other user account, right? So especially from my grading purpose, I have 030, and each of you have a different short text. Okay, so with your account number, so I can differentiate by telling whose bank account is this. So that's like the only thing we need to make adjustments. And if you want to check the other views, okay, what are the like inputs? So remember when you design a database or a table, and this new bank account will be a table. And all of those are the different columns or the field. Some of them are required and some of them are optional inputs. Like the gray one, I couldn't input, or like the control data. So you can see you have lots of the optional inputs. So rather than required field, and those has been configured when you create the SAP system. Oh, so we are users, but it has been configured for us or for all of the required and optional data field. So that's like you can go back to the type, and that's the only thing you need. And be careful, you must save. And I think the confirmation will appear. Okay, data saved. And you can use this process to create other general ledger accounts. Okay, so if you like see step 2, create another reconciliation account. I even really don't need to exit. You can exit, but I can actually start from here. Okay, continue on step 2. And what I'm going to do is just change this number, because step 2, we create another reconciliation account, and this reconciliation is another account payable, so liability account. And I'm going to call it, because it's new again, Be careful. Okay, 11 and 5. Be careful, don't use this one because this is the one with the bank account. Okay, so 10 is like your assets. We are moving to liability account. And you can keep the company code no change. Start. Okay, so with template. Okay, my mistake, I'm sorry, because I'm copying a account receivable. It should be 3. This is the accounts payable. Okay, I'm supposed to use. So if you follow me, you can do the similar thing. Okay, before you save, you can cancel. And even you saved, you always can come back to change. Okay, to change the account where we copy the data. So, and then this one you continue, and now you can see the description change. So it's still reconciliation, but it's become payables. Okay, now I can add my company code. Okay, I'm sorry, it's my oversight. So payables, I didn't change the account number because that one is right. Okay, the only thing I made a mistake is the template. The template I use the account receivable. Make sense? So after you double check again, okay, we only change the first view. If you look for accounts payables, they have other required and optional field, and which we are here, we don't touch them. Okay. So just focus on the description and the account group. Okay, that's the balance sheet account. And GL, those are the 4 major GL. We have balance sheet, expense or income, primary cost, and secondary. Okay, then you can save. So step 2 completed. So created 2 new ledger accounts, which we are going to use for our transaction later. Then step 3, I have another one, a new expense account, like rental expense. Assume we haven't got a rental expense account in our chart of account. So I'm going to copy a existing rental expense structure to create a new expense. So for this one, I'm almost doing the identical thing as the first 2 steps, but with a new account number. For expense account, the account number starting from 7. So if you see 7 in SAP, 7 like with the numbers follows, it means cost or expenses account. So I'm going to use 7 4. So let me see. Oh, sorry, 7 5. Then your company code, and then 5. Okay, so 75, then 0, your company code, then 5. And again, this is a new expense we are going to use for the rental invoices. The same, still your own company code. But when we copy from the template, change the account, the main account to 740300. This is a existing expense account. And continue. And you will see the account group, which is understandable, should be a profit and loss account, right? And is a primary cost. And again, and is an existing rent, but I'm going to add a new description for this new. Maybe we want to use this account like expense for this rental property only. But just the first 3 steps help you understand as accountants if you are authorized to create a new ledger account in the system. But again, there are some users, they may not have this rights, or they only can use the existing accounts, but they don't have rights to create a new account. But in this simulation, I gave each of you the access right to create a new account. And then again, save. So setting up the correct account, okay, we are going to. And then I think now we can exit and create the vendor master data. So after the first three steps, so finally I can exit from the creating ledger account function and go back to the main screen, the home page. And if you like, again, like I said, oh, I use this F as 00 a lot, I can add it to a favorite, right? So that's like something you can use later. And I will take back my accounting function. And looking for step 4, create a new vendor master, because we are going to receive a invoice from this rental company. But this rental company is not in our database yet, like we talked about in chapter like 4 or 5, the relational database. We have different vendors, right? And when you enter a invoice, this vendor must already in your database. So we first create this vendor. So add this vendor into our vendor database. Then later, we can receive invoice from this company. Okay, so they call create a new vendor master data. And if you go from here, you can go from the menu path, or I can use the transaction code. This one is FK01. Okay, be careful. FK number 0, number 1, not letter O. And click on OK. And first it asking you, is this vendor a person or organization or group? Mostly will choose organization for the SAP project, but in the real world, okay, you can decide depending on the nature of the vendor, or is it individual vendor or like a corporation or a group. Okay, then continue. And most of the times I don't really use the left, like you see this left panel, that's normally for search. And I can close it out so I can have a larger working space. For creating vendor, that's give us a kind of nice practice before the purchasing vendor in the purchasing module, because the new SAP, the HANA S4, they treat all of your vendors, customers, and employees, they call them business partners, okay, BP. So for each the business partner, when you try to create, you must define what their role you can do business with. Okay, so what their role we are interacting with this new business partner. They work as a vendor, or sometimes they can work as our customer in the same time. Or later, this vendor become employed by our company. So their role may change from time to time, but some of their master data, we can keep them permanently as their address or contact information. So we wouldn't have redundant general data for these business partners. That can significantly save your database and increase the speed for processing the transactions. So for example, when a vendor later become our employed person, so think a vendor change their role from vendor to employee, I can keep their general data, which like their name, their address. I only need to change their functional role from vendor to internal employee data. Okay, so you don't really need to recreate everything from the scratch. That's I think they call is the largest change from this newest SAP platform from the early version. Okay, I used the early version before. For the early version, I don't have the business partner. I have I have vendor data, I have customer data, I have employee data. Even when a vendor become, for example, if the vendor become customer, I have to maintain both of the database. So one company, they have two tables, one as vendor and the other one as customer. So you can imagine when maintaining two tables for the same company, we have redundant data and is a waste of your database resources and is not that efficient way to process the information. So when we get into the procurement module, you will see more examples when we process this one is a they normally call FI vendor, financial accounting vendor. This vendor we don't buy inventory from, we don't buy supplies, is normally service vendors, right? I think an easy way, service vendors. And in a procurement, we'll have inventory of purchasing vendors. For purchasing vendors, we have more data required. So that's more complex than creating a service vendor we are doing here. But if you can finish the service vendor, it will be much easier. You handle the purchase vendor later. Okay, so just to give you the background. For the vendor, you can see they have different data. The first group of data we are enter, we call general data. General data means normally permanent. It doesn't matter whether they change their role later. This data may become permanent, like the name. Okay, I think I call this is cardinal. I'm just following the, and I put my company code. So cardinal properties, the company and the name will probably be permanent. And the title is the option. I will put a company. You can see the optional, you don't have the star, right? So if a field indicated by a star means required field, how I can define the required optional? That's your database design. We can define those in the Access, right? But this is the SAP database. We don't really work on the database directly, but we work as users, entering data into the database. So when you use the smart book, like homework, smart book readings, and with SAP, I believe these are complementing each other because the book focus on the database perspective and SAP focus on the user like transaction. So the what I say like the transaction level or process levels. Collectively, you really understand how the ERP working and behind the scene how the data are entered and processed. And then the search term, and I'm going to use, I think they ask us to use the company code, which the 0, I believe. Because in case you forget your vendor code later, we can use this search term to help us quickly find out the vendor we are looking for. And other information, see the street is optional, but the postal code and the city we are required. So the city is Eden. Oh, I need to change. Okay, move to here. So this Eden Prairie. And the postal code is 55347. When you move between the different fields in SAP, very careful. Like I mentioned early in the beginning, it's not very user-friendly. So be careful for when you enter the data and moving from like back and forth between the field. And if you have, for example, a larger screen, you may see all of the tabs. But if you have a small laptop, some of the tabs you wouldn't see, they probably show as dot, 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 or like this more, right? So that's like so if you sometimes you couldn't locate the tabs, and if you see the dot, 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 like here, because I use my large display, so I see all of them. If you use a small laptop, you need to click on the dot, dot, dot or more to see all of the functionalities. Oh, that's another trick. And then the Pioneer Trail. Okay. So that's optional, I believe. Okay, but if you like, you can put it. Trail. And then the country as US, right? So US is required. And the region is actually the state, because SAP is a German company, so they don't really call state, okay, they call region. But MN, okay, so Minnesota. So for US is actually the state. And all the PO box are optional, but do input English as the required language. But you can see, telephone, mobile phone, and fax, those are optional field. If you want to make up some data, that's fine, no problem. But don't save until you see the same prompt in the instruction or from the video demos. Okay, so just keep going. Because if you save, we haven't have other data input, so you need to use the edit mode to add more data, or you don't save yet. So make sure you have this, but then enter. Okay, click on enter in the Word file. I put the like the keywords or something I want to pay attention. I use the red font. So if you see the red font, be very careful. So read it before you do it. So now I hit enter. So what the purpose for the enter? The enter lets the system save my general data. Saved the address and other I already input. And now we can move to the company code data. So vendor specific data. Let me try. So let me double check. Okay, because if I made a mistake, it's kind of hard to correct later. Business UFI vendor. I think, yeah, now click on the company code. So again, so the purpose is once we entered and the general data got saved, I work on the vendor specific company code. So click on the company code, and here put your US pound. You only can use your own company code. And here, I believe you need to click on enter again. So the field will be active for input. Yeah. So click enter. And now you can see you can add the reconciliation account. So vendor, so this vendor, we are going to use this accounts payable specialty. Okay, not other accounts payables, and use the one we create. So the 11. Be careful, use your own. Okay, like not copy mine. So use the one we created in step 2. Or if you forgot, this is the account we created in step 2. the new account, new reconciliation account. So later when we receive invoice from this vendor, the system will automatically link the invoice to this accounts payable, and they will generate the journal entry. Okay, rather than I write the accounts payable into the system. Make sense? So, and then the payment term, and so this is the one we put under the first screen, and then go to your vendor payment transaction. Put the payment term is 0001. Pay immediately. Okay, no like a credit payment. Okay, so once you receive the invoice, you need to pay according to the contract. No discount. And now I think we can save. But for the purchasing vendor, we do later in the procurement, we need more inputs. We have another view I remember they call purchasing data. Because for inventory purchase, we need to let the system know, like related to the shipment information, like receiving, warehousing, like where we are going to put the inventory. But for a service vendor, that's what we need, because no material will be received later. Oh, so that's it. We need for a service vendor, general data and company code data. And if you want switch back, right, like, yeah, see, if I go to the general data, I'm going back to my, so I think I need to go to the company. Okay. And save first, okay, to avoid I lost it. Okay. So save. I have business partner number 3. I believe Nandra and Tasha, because they already have 2 in front of me. So for our class, okay, our class will have this vendor numerically ordered. So 1, I have 3. So some of you may have 4 or 5. So it's sequentially ordered for all of our class accounts. Okay. So this is the confirmation of my vendor created. But again, can this guarantee you did everything right? No. Okay, no. I hope you did it correctly, because later when you try to call the vendor if there's something wrong, you will feel it later. Okay, not at this moment, unless you may ask me to check, okay, for all of the data inputs. But that's like, you can check, like if you really want to check, because for company code, I only need this company code, right? So if you go to the payments, now it's fixed. But if you go to the general data, I hope they just can show us the, like the name or address. If not, you can use the view function to come here later. Okay. Yeah, so it's showing what we have input. But here, you can't edit anymore. So you can't change. So it means it's already saved. Even you found something wrong, you couldn't use the, that's like something I want to, like, so if you found something wrong, you couldn't use the FK01, the code again, because that's a creating new. If you want to edit, you have to call other transaction code. For this one, I believe, okay, like, let me exit. If I, for example, if I found something wrong, I want to edit, I believe I can use 02 dash view, or probably 03. But I'm not really letting you do it, just to let you know. Okay, once you input and save your vendor or like your material data, even you found a mistake, you cannot use the same code anymore to edit or view. You have to use other code. But I don't want to give you too much. But if you got a problem, I will let you know. Okay. And this, like, for example, you can input your vendor code. Like for example, mine is number 3. And click on enter. Oh, I think this gave me the, so I can use my search term. Okay. Even this call 3. Okay, vendor code. So found. And the Grand Prairie. So I'm trying to find my own. Oh, here, this one is mine. Okay. Yeah, this is, so from, that's like the search term is used for, there are many others because like from the system, but this is the city I can recognize. I can click on that. I don't know why it's become this, but suppose they're asking a 6 digits, but the 3 is what I got, right? So, but this is the vendor code. This is some system glitch. But now if I click on OK, I will use all of them. Address control payment. And is getting me to the data I input. And from here, I can do the view or edit. I think this one probably I can edit. And FK02 is only for view only. Okay, so that's kind of also something. It's not like Excel. I found I did something wrong. I can just back up, right? So like a backspace, I can do the change. Here is once you, so you need to really use the save button very carefully because once you save, lots of the change we couldn't really, delete or make the change. We have to call other functions to change the data or correct the mistakes. Oh, that's something. Be careful. But let me exit. Questions so far? Let me see. I see some chat. Oh, okay. I got Kevin. Thank you, Nandra. Nandra already answered. Okay, Kevin's question. And now, because once we set up these things, the rest will be relatively simple. I think we only have 3 real steps. Okay, so step 5. Now we'll get into the accounting transactions. Step 5. Post transfer. So probably let me